Guys, look. I found an eye patch. Oh, God, my head.
Hey guys, and welcome to part 2 of Battlefield History and Lore. In the last episode, we took a look at the start of a franchise, Battlefield 1942, and its amazing reception by the gaming community. This episode, we're going to look at its sequel, Battlefield Vietnam. On March 15, 2004, the Swedish company Digital Illusion CE, or DICE, and the publisher Electronic Arts released the sequel to Battlefield 1942. Taking the franchise out of World War II and throwing players into the jungles of Vietnam. Much like 1942, Battlefield Vietnam was deeply rooted in its historical setting, with maps such as the Ho Chi Minh Trail, the La Drang Valley, and Operation Flaming Dart. Much of the game was heavily influenced by popular Vietnam War movies. One example of this is the ability to play Ride of the Valkyries on the radio, much like the movie Apocalypse Now. Gameplay in Battlefield Vietnam has the same conquest style that the original Battlefield introduced, but with a twist. Your object is still to capture and hold control points around the map, which then spawn friendly ground and air vehicles. The twist that made Battlefield Vietnam revolutionary for its time was its asymmetrical warfare gameplay. The two teams, the US versus the Vietnamese, are given a widely different set of kits and vehicles. The United States relying much more on heavy vehicles, while the Vietnamese were relying much more on infantry tactics. An example being the US getting heavy tanks, helicopters, and even bombers, while the Vietnamese are forced to rely on anti-tank and anti-air weapons in order to stop the American side, reflecting the actual conditions of the war. One interesting feature for the Vietnamese is the Sippy Hole, which was effectively a mobile spawn point. It represented the vast network of tunnels the Vietnamese used during the actual war. This gave the game a much more fun and interesting balance. Factions in Battlefield Vietnam featured the US, South Vietnam, North Vietnam, and the Viet Cong. It was built on the 1942 engine and came with a number of improvements, adding contemporary and interesting weapons like the AK-47 and the Punji stick traps. Helicopters could airlift vehicles into battle, and while driving a vehicle, the player could turn on the radio, which featured songs straight out of the 1960s, such as CCR's Fortunate Son or Edwin Starr's War.
Good for absolutely no. Say that again.
The vehicle list in Battlefield Vietnam ranged from the M48 Patton to the AH-1 Cobra, the F-4 Phantom, and of course the Huey helicopter. For the Vietnamese and the Viet Cong, players could fly MiG-17s and 21s, Mi-8 helicopters, and the T-54 tanks. There was even a Vespa scooter. Battlefield Vietnam had a wide list of modifications. One most notably featured was made by DICE themselves, called Battlefield Vietnam World War II Modification, which consisted of the Pacific maps from Battlefield 1942 remade with Battlefield Vietnam graphics, and they added some weapons like a flamethrower and a mortar launcher. Well, that pretty much wraps up this episode of Battlefield History and Lore. In the next part, we're going to take a look at one of my all-time favorite games, period, hands down, Battlefield 2. If you love mods, then come on over to my channel, TheXPGamers, where we support the modding community, or visit our website, Mod Library, at modlb.com. Please subscribe to TGN for more gaming goodness, and as always, thanks for watching. I will see you guys next time.